Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you all for tuning into the show. As always, I got my crew with me, Darnell and Tyler. I'm Trey, and we're coming your way with the 93rd edition of the Don't Kill the Messengers podcast. First thing we're about to get into for this week is we're about to recap UFC 218. Had some pretty good fights in there on that card. First thing I'm about to do before we get into the co-mains, I got to give a shout out to Darnell. We was talking last week before the show. He was telling me about a fight between Gaethje and Alvarez. We was talking about being on the lookout for that one. And those two put on a hell of a show, man. That was an absolutely amazing fight to watch. Those two had complete heart. They were going at it, man. So you definitely put me on to that one, man. That was a good fight.
Yeah, I knew that one was going to be just pretty much Bloodsport, the movie, in real life. And they left it out there and went at it. Both of those guys, they showed a lot of heart, and they both went for the kill.
Yep, exactly. Just absolutely amazing on those two parts. Just a fun one to watch. But first fight we're about to get into, it's about to be a quick discussion because it was a quick fight. My man Overeem got knocked out against Francis Ngannou. This guy's a beast, man. Have not seen this guy fight before, so when I first saw Overeem, I'm going to be honest, man. When I first saw Overeem versus Ngannou, it was him being a co-main event on the card. I didn't know who Ngannou was, so I was like, man, Overeem, I never heard this guy. Overeem gonna beat this guy ass. So went in there. I saw the fight, man. Ngannou, he went in there, man, and just handle business, man. Probably going to go down as one of the greatest KOs in the history of the UFC. That was just amazing. So take it away, Darnell. Your thoughts on that, man?
I mean, yeah, a lot of people didn't know who Francis Ngannou was, but they do now. Since basically this was immediately made an internet meme. I had to mess with Trey over Twitter. Send some pictures about it, but I mean, that knockout was something like straight out of Street Fighter or something. That looked like Ryu or Ken throwing in punch out. So, and just to see Overeem's neck just fly backwards like that, it looked like his head was seriously about to come off.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, great knockout. Can't call the fight great because it was quick. But I mean, people got their money's worth if they were looking to see something spectacular with that one. Great knockout, and I think we have our title fight set now.
Yeah, going to be very interesting to seeing if he can go out there and handle business against Stipe like he did Overeem. Overeem's a beast. Was kind of disappointed in his last couple of fights how he's been fighting, in his last couple of fights. But if you knock out a guy like Overeem, you're a beast, man. So just going to see how he can prepare for a championship fight, and see how he can go in there and handle Stipe Miocic.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that one goes. I'm assuming that's going to be the next fight. It seems like that's what Dana said. So yeah, I definitely can't wait to see this and see how it goes.
Yeah. All right, let me hurry up and get my other boy out the way with, man. Jose Aldo. He got beat again by Max Holloway, man. Max Holloway is impressive, dude. He just goes in there and he handles business, man. But just what were your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, I mean, Holloway he showed this is his division now.
I just love his confidence too, man. Like that guy is, like I said, a lot of people there just talk just to talk, but that guy truly, you can see, he truly believes in himself and truly believes he can just go in there and just do whatever he wants to his opponents.
Extreme confidence, and he's a student of his craft. I mean, he was crisp. His hands were on point. I mean, just his boxing was immaculate. He bruised up Aldo just a lot with just a jab.
Yeah.
Aldo had a tough time just getting inside of a lead punch like that. So, he was on his game, and then he, after softening him up basically with that, he just opened up the rest of the repertoire, and it was a slow ride downhill for Aldo after that.
Yeah, I just was kind of looking at it, man. Just with Aldo through the way in, he's 31. He's still a pretty young guy. But it might be time for him to try 155 if he wants to continue to do this, man, because I was just looking at both of them missed weight when they weighed in before the fight. But, man, Aldo, when he came in there and stepped on that scale, man, dude, he looked like he should have been in a Walking Dead or something, man. He looked like an absolute zombie, bro. And they told him he was 146. He looked like he was about to cry, man. Like, it was like that much pain for him to get to make that extra pound. So what I'm thinking right now with him, he probably should try 155 out because he was just looking. I've never really seen these last couple of fights like Aldo just be, tired like he's gotten out of shape like he has been in his previous fights. I don't know if it's just him, if that cutting weight is just putting that much just pressure and just pain on his body at this point. So this, I think, man, it'll probably be time for him just to try out the 155 division. It looked like he went through hell and back to try to make 145 when he initially stepped on that scale. So,
yeah, I mean, we've talked about it some before where I brought it up. I mean, I think weight cutting is pretty much the most dangerous thing about the UFC.
Yeah.
But which is crazy to say since it's two people going in a cage and
trying to rip their head off.
Yeah. But you have these guys pretty much on the brink of like renal failure just to try to get their weight down to step in the cage for these, just so they could try to have an advantage.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're not safely cutting this weight.
Yeah.
I mean, for that last week or two, it's just them pretty much trying to purge every bit of water from themselves. And that's what you get. People looking emaciated, stepping on a scale. And like you said, Trey, looking like zombies, basically.
Yeah.
And, it's just, it's not safe. They do need to do something about that. And as far as Aldo goes himself, he's been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
And yes, he's an athlete. He's at peak condition, but hey, when you hit 30, it's hard to bounce back from that kind of stuff. So doing extreme weight cuts like this when it's just not natural for you anymore to get down there, it's just the laws of gravity. You get older, it's harder to take that weight off, even if you're trying to just cut water. And it affects you more when you're trying to cut water like that. So life's like a rubber band. You keep stretching one, it's not going to bounce back as easy. And all those there.
Yeah.
He either, if he wants to keep doing this, he probably needs to go up so he can be healthier fighting, or it's just time to call it a day.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with that, man, because when I saw that, man, I was like, dang, because he was like bending over on the scale. It was like, I would like for there to just be like a study somehow, where they can just like study like UFC fighters or just MMA or whatever, just how the effect it has on their body, just over time from cutting weight, and stuff like that. That'd just be interesting to look at because those guys literally put their bodies through hell, just to make weight. So it's just crazy. But yeah, I think, right now with my man Aldo, I think 145, that 145 division is, absolutely just, done for him. I think if he really wants to, make a comeback, truly bounce back, I think 155 is going to have to be the division, for him. And there's another thing out of the fight, man. He was kicking a little bit, but I would have liked to seen him kick a little bit more up in that fight. So, that was like the first 3 minutes. I like just looking at the fight between him and Holloway. I was like, yeah, this guy's about to lose again. He's not tearing that leg up like he used to, man, when he used to throw those leg kicks. So, he's out there, he's trying to, stand up, just use the boxing game and whatnot. But, he's going to have to turn into that tenacious beast. Just start throwing them leg kicks more again, man. You can't just go in there and just put your key strength, the your key tactic that you use is you're known for, and just throw it in the back and just don't use it, and don't expect to get a win in there. So I'd like to see him, just throw some more leg kicks, because it's been a while since he tore somebody up throwing them leg kicks in the octagon. So
yeah, I wonder about that just now, since it's been like 3 or 4 fights now where he hasn't utilized that when that was always one of his strengths. I just wonder if like something's up with his feet or his shins or something like that, to where he can't handle throwing kicks at a rate like that anymore.
Yeah, could be. Like I said, with how that could be wearing him down too, man. Because those leg kicks, they can add up on your legs too. So especially at the tenacity that he was throwing them at. So, but anything else to add for Aldo? Holloway, man. Cub Swanson. A lot of people want to see him fight Cub Swanson. Cub Swanson is he's going to have a fight soon. I think in a couple of weeks or something like that. I forgot when. But also Edgar. He was initially supposed to fight him, but it got called off due to an injury. What would you like to see next for Holloway, man? Yeah, that was going to be the fight there. Yeah.
You just named him. I would be happy with either of those 2 fights. Frankie Edgar, he's always there. He's always going to put on an entertaining fight. And Cub Swanson he's another guy that's going to come forward and he's going to make fights exciting. He's either going to get knocked out or try for a knockout. And, you got to respect that. And he's been one of the mainstays in that division up at the upper echelon. So yeah, I'm good with either of those fights. And, I think I would probably lean more towards Frankie, since this was his fight before, he had to pull out.
Yeah.
So I would be happy if they run that back and go that way. But definitely Cub Swanson's deserving as well.
Yeah. Yeah, man, like I said, but Max Holloway's looking impressive, man. He might be kicking my man BJ to the curb as the greatest to come out of Hawaii. So we'll have to see, man, if he can.
He's working on it.
Yeah, he putting in major work. Just another comment, man. I was kind of nervous. I was looking at at the Little Caesars Arena when they had it, man. Saw a couple of empty seats there, dude. So I don't know if that's. I need to see like how it's sold there, but just looking like how when I was looking at it, they had some empty seats there. So I don't know, man. That could affect the sales, and to see if they'll have another UFC in Detroit again soon, or if it'll take a while like the one they had last time in Michigan. So this would be interesting.
Well, it definitely could. It definitely could, but I kind of put that on Dana. I mean, you just said it yourself. One of the main events, people didn't know who one of the contenders were.
Yeah, true.
And this is basically a number 1 contendership fight, and only one of the names kind of had the brand behind it. And I put some of that on the UFC. You put a card in the city, you need to promote the heck out of it, especially. This is a town where this is only the 3rd UFC event that's ever been here, and each one has been basically decades apart each time. So yeah, I kind of put that on the UFC, and as usual, the lighter weight fighters, it's harder to sell those as well. Even though Max Holloway is amazing, and although he's the linchpin of that division. He carried the division on his back and was arguably the number 1 pound for pound fighter, I guess, as little as 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So I put a little bit of that on Dana and the UFC for not getting out and promoting this. He should have been making the media rounds around here trying to get people hyped for those fights, because if I want to say like hardcore fans, they had an idea about some of these. Like I told you, I knew that Alvarez Gaethje fight would be amazing. And Holloway he's a pound for pound, like top 5 type fighter. And, Nagano was an up and comer with power that now people see. And, all the reports from this fight from this card was that it was amazing, and it probably the fights were way better than what it sold, and that's in the arena and pay-per-view.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of like, as you said, was, like with Dana, it kind of like pissed me, off a little, because like looking at how, I can understand, New York's a bigger city than Detroit, but I could look at how he was marketing, the whole New York, views and the events that he had going on there with the UFC, and how he, treated, an event like Detroit. This was one that he hasn't had in a while and stuff. It was like, compared to New York, I definitely saw like with that he could have done a better job, with the whole marketing and, promoting it and whatnot. So, that was just kind of like looking at comparing those two. But yeah, I do. I definitely agree with you on that one. I think he could have done a better job with that. Especially like with the fighters and whatnot.
Yeah.
Anything else to add for UFC 218?
Well, just like I said, it was a card that if you pay for it, this is one you got your money's worth. It was one of those where it didn't have name value behind it, but it gave you the bang for your buck.
Yeah, agree with that. Just something else to add, man. Did you hear Rousey was close to an agreement with the WWE?
Yeah, I've been following that for a while. I still figured that's probably her next stop, but
really, okay. Yeah, just wanted to see what are your thoughts on that? You think she could be the next Trish Stratus or Chyna or something like that, man, or what?
I don't know. I mean, we'd have to see how that turns out, but I mean, she's been on. I guess I can't say WWE TV. She's been on the network within the past couple months because one of her teammates has now transitioned into the
really?
WWE.
Okay.
Yeah, Shayna Baszler.
Okay.
They had a network only special in tribute to a old school ladies wrestler, Mae Young. They did like a 16-woman tournament with lesser known female wrestlers, and Baszler was in that, but Rousey was in the stands for each of the cards for it. So it seems like they're working on it, and it may take some time, but yeah, I think we'll see her in the squared circle, before we ever see her back in the octagon.
Yeah, I do. I think that's the, that'll be the right, decision for her, man. Even though I still like one of the UFC fights I always wanted to see. I was going to make, her and Cyborg, get it on in the octagon, but, looks like that's not going to happen. But, I think that's the, next best move for her. It's still contact sports. It's not, definitely it's not UFC, but, she still, get a chance to, fight. And so much, in a square circle. So, I just think that'll be just good transition from her. So.
Yeah. No embarrassing knockouts in the WWE.
Yeah. All right. Up next, we're about to go right into some NFL. First thing I'm about to talk about is these, suspensions that happened, over the past week. Just what are you guys' thoughts on the, suspensions? Do you think, the NFL needs to be a little bit more consistent with these suspensions, especially like with Gronk and Marcus Peters and whatnot?
Do you think we can make the argument that they were too consistent with this one?
Well, I mean, I guess too consistent in giving everybody a game for what they did. Yeah. Yes. Even though I did just read though that the Peters one. That was internal. The Chiefs suspended him. That wasn't the NFL.
Okay.
Oh, it was the Chiefs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Andy Reid suspended Marcus Peters for a game. But, I mean, I
that's fine.
think that still goes along with it.
Yeah. But I don't think this is so much a consistency issue as it is, and I don't even know what the right word is, but like a severity of penalty issue. Like, did was inexcusable. Literally just like tried to spear the player on the ground defenseless, back turned to him. Like Gronk had no reason to be falling on top at all.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of WWE, that was elbow drop.
A place where Gronk would fit in great.
Yeah.
Just totally uncalled for, and for a guy that can seem to be annoying, kind of has that frat boy and attitude, really. Like, he's still a likable guy, and that just kind of in a poor image for himself. But I mean, I guess we could look at the Juju Smith-Schuster hits, and those were just okay. The perfect one was an attempted football play. Juju Smith-Schuster actually wanted to just light somebody up, which, I mean, when you're watching it live, you just think, oh, that's a huge block. Then you see the replay, mention here. And then you knew you'd see at least a fine on the perfect hit. The dude, we've talked about it before. He's a repeat offender. Anytime he even gets close to anything, he's going to get a suspension. When you build go ahead.
I think you got a little bit confused there. The Smith-Schuster hit was on Murphy.
Oh, it was. Okay. It was retaliation.
The hit
was
on
that one retaliation?
Antonio
I can't remember
Brown.
when in the game.
No, the Juju's hit came first.
Got it. Then perfect.
On perfect.
Yeah, I could remember which one came first.
It wasn't even perfect. That was a safe.
I thought it was perfect.
No.
I thought that was perfect. So yeah, okay, yeah, that's my fault then. Yeah, but still, yeah, you look at that Juju Smith-Schuster hit, and you just see, him wanting to light somebody up. The hit on Antonio Brown, an attempted football play. Like, I don't think anybody would argue that. That was an attempted football play. I don't think there was, a dirty deed involved there. It just so happens, you get an offensive player going for a pass. Come on. When a defender leaves his feet to make a hit, you're kind of hoping you just don't make contact or really chesting up, or else it looks like getting some hefty suspension or fine. So, the Gronk one's the one I think is totally inexcusable. I think the Smith shoe, just kind of shake your head and you're just thinking like, dude, use your brain. And then, the one for the hit on Antonio Brown, that's kind of the unfortunate one. Peter's just like, don't just another shaking of the head one. Just don't throw a flag. Like, come on. We've seen players do it before and get suspended. So it's a lot of it's just these guys just not using their head. But you just get in the heat of the moment, heat of the game. You don't really know what's being said out there. Still no excuse, but heat of the moment.
Yeah, I'm on the line where the state of mind on it, where it's just NFL, really, what are you going for? What do you really mean when you try to say you're looking out for the safety of players on things like this? If the Chiefs thought throwing a flag into the stands, which it was stupid, suspendable, no, but that was an internal team thing. If the Chiefs are fine with a game for throwing a flag into the stands because he was frustrated, how is that Gronk deal not like 2 or 3 games?
Yeah. Yep.
Like I'm totally fine with a game for Juju Smith-Schuster. It was legal crackback block that he made, but he leveled him. I think it was more than taunt after they got him suspended, since he stood over him and started jawing about it. Oka hit. I think that was just, we talked about it before recording, but I think that's just like the college definition there of just targeting there. He left his feet, he led with his head, and it was helmet to helmet. Intentional or not, like that was just, there's nothing Brown could do to protect himself. He was going for a football. I'm amazed he held on to the football to get a touchdown on that play. But that was clear. Like if we were going by college rules, he would have been out of the game there and missing the first half of the next game, which I guess the NFL is looking into something like that for next year. But fine. Well, from looking at it though, I guess for that hit, they all appealed. It was upheld. He kept the game. Smith-Schuster appealed. His stay with the game, but this one, the Aloka hit in the end zone, his got reduced to a fine. So it's like, okay, this is a team internal, but like I said, throwing a flag into the crowd, 1 game suspension. Launching head first in 9. Legal block, but taunting a game.
Yeah.
Like what the hell? Just dropping a brace covered forearm into the back of somebody's neck and giving them a concussion. 1 game, like so. Just they got to figure things out here. Like, and pretty much different situations, but this brings me back to like the Ray Rice issue. At first, it was, what was it, a game or two, when they just heard that he pretty much got in it wife. But then when you see the video, okay, now we're going to do something about it. You got the video here. It happened in a game. How is Gronk not gone for 2 or 3 games?
Yeah.
How do you reduce eating, cracking somebody in the face mask? How do you just fine him for that? Yet, which was technically a legal block just because he stood over and taunted him, his suspension is withheld. Like, there's no rhyme or reason here.
Yeah, and
they need to get it together.
Yeah, and I also think the NFL kind of walks a fine line between, wanting that safety, but also wanting to kind of also uphold kind of like a goody two-shoe image as well. Like, the NFL does not want to be viewed as an unsafe sport. The NFL doesn't want to be viewed as, the no fun league. So this year they, allowed team celebrations. And, I think, and granted, I completely agree with you, Darnell. It's not that I'm disagreeing here, because I do think, Gronk definitely at least 2 games. More than, above the shoulders, things like that. I completely agree. But I also think the NFL's trying to also be like, we want to have fun, but we don't want to have too much fun. So they're trying to keep this good, clean image while still trying to let the players play. And so what happens, they feel like they need to act so they can be like, see, we're on top of it. You can't be telling us we're analyzing it. But they also want to be like, we also want to let the players play. But I mean, I also feel like there is a line there that they're trying to find.
Realizing it though, because the 2 hits that actually like were dangerous. Like, I mean, I guess all you're playing football is dangerous, but Gronk's hit, a concussion protocol. Their player is going to miss a game, and basically all they're doing is equaling it out. And on Brown, like I said, I'm not saying he intentionally tried to injure him or not, but he launched and, he led with the crown of his helmet, blasted a dude that was just trying to catch the ball. I know he was trying to do something to make him not catch the ball, but, that was the face mask. That's pretty damn dangerous. But he got fined in the end. So it's like, are they really trying to protect the players or no?
And like I told you, I completely agree. I think we're on the same page. I think it's also just the NFL, like I said, just trying to find that line where they're like not trying to, I've said it before. I do think safety does take a little bit of a back seat for the NFL. I don't think that safety is first and foremost on Roger Goodell's list. But I mean, some of them are head shaking because of the players' actions, and others are head shaking when you figure out what for the action. And I think all of these kind of receive one giant sigh and head shake, just realizing the NFL doesn't really know what they're doing.
Yeah. All right, guys. What do y'all think about Roger Goodell's extension? He's getting that paper. 5 years, $200 million. Thoughts on that?
Don't you have to be good at your job in order to get a raise? Yeah, just it's frustrating to watch the guy that probably receives some of the most criticism in the sporting world continue to stick around.
So both of you guys would like to see Goodell gone?
I bet if you were to poll 10,000 people in America on a regular basis on Sundays, I'm going to say they watch at least one game all 17 weeks, including playoffs. Guarantee if you pull 10 or 75% say they wish Goodell was gone, if not 85%.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I want him. Just wish the players were smart enough to make some changes as far as what they agreed to let him handle. There's things I don't mind about Goodell. There's things I don't like about him. But a lot of it falls on the players and what they did with their CBA. I don't like that there's no real appeal process when the hammer is laid down and it looks like it's unfair because he's and whatnot. But I do feel like some of the stuff, like he is trying to do things that are good for football, and as far as what he's there to do and grow the game and bring in more revenue, he's done that. So I can't knock there, but he's making so much more than the talent. If I have to go there, I don't get. He gets a contract, like from what you earlier, like he's making $20 million a year higher than the highest paid player in the league.
Yeah, Stafford's getting 27, so we're looking at a $13 million difference.
Yeah, so it's like, how the heck does that happen? Like this is a guy who has had some screw ups. I mean, I'm not saying Goodell's perfect or anything. I mentioned it earlier, the whole race and domestic abuse situation that falls in his lap, and the inconsistencies with how they lay down punishment that falls in his lap, and the other health issues that seem to be growing with the NFL as far as CTE and taking care of retired players, that falls in his lap. These are all things that, I mean, if they decided not to renew a contract because of those things, I wouldn't be sitting here going to bat saying that they're wrong about it. But yeah, I guess I'm on the fence with the guy.
Gotta milk that cash cow dry, man. I mean, so you gotta do it, seems.
Yeah, though, Darnell, I personally, like, for me, if Goodell were gone tomorrow, I wouldn't bat an eye. I wouldn't feel bad about it or anything like that. But, like you said, you need to give him revenue is through the roof for the NFL. The NFL is probably more global than it's ever been because of Goodell. We're looking at games regularly in London.
Mm-hmm. And what was it, Mexico City this year also?
Mexico City as well. So, I mean, we're looking at an NFL that's really starting to globalize. They're really starting to build the NFL brand worldwide, which is fantastic. But like you said, he's had his screw ups. Nobody's perfect, and I don't think anybody will expect the next guy that follows him to be perfect either. But it just kind of seems like Roger Goodell has screwed up on some of the more crucial matters. And when the screw ups are in big moments, you tend to remember them more, which for Roger Goodell is unfortunate. But do I think he deserves that? That much money? No. And I think we're on the same page with that. But just, he's done some good things. You have to give him that credit where credit is due. But just some of the screw ups have been a little too much, for a lot of people. The Ray Rice one was handled very poorly. We'll all agree with that, probably till the end of time. But, it is unfortunate that we tend to remember the bad moments more than we remember the good ones. But, it seems like with Roger Goodell, a lot of the bad ones outweigh the good ones.
All right, guys. Anything else to add to the NFL?
Nope.
All right. We're about to transition over to some NCAA football now. We got a lot to discuss regarding these playoffs and just matchups. Just got a lot to talk about. But first thing we're about to get into is, your guys' squads got some pretty interesting matchups come this bowl season. Just what are your thoughts on your guys' matchups?
You want it first?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, I like it. I mean, it's a good quality team we're playing in Washington State. Holiday Bowl, San Diego. So, and a good reward for, turning around the season, having a good season. They get to play another ranked team and get a nice test to try to get that 10th win. I think it'll be fun trying to match up with that offense going against the air raid offense there, where they'll be slinging it all around to see how defense that's been very formidable all year, to see how they can deal with something like that. And today's defense has been pretty solid too in the Pac-12. So I think it's an interesting matchup. Two different types of offenses playing against two solid defenses. So I'm interested to see how it goes.
Yeah, I'll jump in and kind of throw a couple things there. First of all, who do you think will come out with the better pre-bowl game quote? Tony or Leach?
Oh, Leach.
Both
Leach
guys have been known for some
soundbite.
Hasn't been known for some pretty good ones. So just thought I'd throw that one.
But D'Antonio's digs are usually left for rivals and people he doesn't like. Whole Twitter spat this past couple days with Harbaugh.
Yeah. He done with it. A little more toward Harbaugh there, so. But yeah, quarterback for Washington State, has had a really good year. At one point, a lot of people were talking about him for Heisman. Granted, that was like 3 or 4 weeks into the season, but like you said, very, very good offense. Loves to spread the ball around. A physically dominating team, but they're quick. They like to play fast. It kind of reminds you of like a hybrid Oregon when Chip Kelly was at the helm. At least that's what it reminds me of. They spread the ball. They're fast. They like to try and tire out other teams. With a Michigan State team that likes offensively and defensively, that likes to kind of slow a game down. Force a team, to run it first and second down, try to play with. How do you think Michigan State's defense, especially the secondary, is going to fare against a team that'll probably throw it 35 times?
That's going to be the deal there. they're going to have to do their best to try to get them off the field. Perhaps happen because that's going to out and probably going to have to play a lot more like nickel and dime packages just because of how this offense is set up. They tight ends or fullbacks, of course. So through situations with a running back there, just like the threat of a shotgun run, but it's something that with before the bowl game against Baylor. This very similar offense is there. No threat to really run over you, but they do a lot of quick passes and tempo and keeping 3-4 receivers always on the field. So it's something they've had to deal with. And I do think they have the secondary for it, but it's going to put a lot of pressure on the front seven to get home, force quick throws, so they can get in 2nd and 7s and 2nd and 8s, 2nd and 10s, not 2nd and 5 and 4 and 3 to make things harder on themselves. So it's going to be a test, but do it. That linebacker core going to be it's going to be critical that they figure out how to get into the quarterback in blitz packages. So Bocce and Fry and Andrew Dowell, they're going to have to get into the line there.
Yeah, definitely. I think you mentioned it, Joe Bocce. Like, he's anchored that defense most of the year, especially from the linebacking position. And over the last roughly 10 years, the middle linebacker position for Michigan State, best player on the defense, really holds down the fort. So he's definitely, for me, the guy that Michigan State will need to have a good game. They'll need him to watch those, over the middle passes, keep an eye on the run game, just keep running backs and quarterbacks in check. You have to account for Joe Bocce on defense. He makes plays, finds the ball. So, player for Michigan State to look out for, it's him.
Right, Todd. Thoughts on Michigan, man?
Well, one mediocre team playing another. They pulled South Carolina. I'm just calling it how it is. It's cool. Like, I guess I'll dip a little bit back into the Michigan State game against Washington State. I was a little upset to see State fans going back and forth. Michigan fans saying, "Hey, we pulled a New Year's Day bowl game," and then Michigan State fans going, basically like, "What the heck? We're not getting a New Year's Day game. We beat Michigan, all this, that." I'm just sitting here thinking, let's hold our horses. Like, if you didn't pull a New Year's Six game or a college football playoff game, who you're matched up against is what matters. Like, that's how you see the disrespect of your season.
So you weren't, just real quick, Ty, you weren't, like pissed at all? Darnell, y'all didn't get the New Year's Six or anything, or?
No, I mean, I kind of half expected it. I mean, it's still just one of those teams. They travel well, so they're going to bring in the revenue. So I wasn't shocked when the Outback Bowl pulled them, but I looked at the matchup kind of like how Ty was saying. Well, I was like, okay, well, we're playing a ranked team, and they're playing South Carolina. So whatever.
And I mean, absolutely. Like I said, in my opinion, if you're not in the New Year's Six, if you're not the college football playoff, look at your matchup and base it off of that. Don't look at the bowl game date that you're playing. Like, to me, that's all secondary. If that's what you're hung up on, you're missing the point of bowl season. In terms of, the New Year's Six, who gets into the pretty clear cut. Those are pretty spelled out as to who gets into those. So, your team's not in. One of those have a better season. So yeah, Michigan pulling, New Year's Day against South Carolina. I don't really care. So noon game? It's another mediocre team. So you get what you deserve for that. And, it's going to be impressing anybody. It's not like this game is going to be, a must watch. Like I said, 2-8-14 teams who got picked to play on New Year's Day. Big deal.
Out for revenge, Ty?
The only thing I hope
because them clowny memes have been popping right back up as soon as they announce it.
That's the only thing I hope doesn't happen. Or I hope Rashawn Gary lays a hit on somebody that creates something new going on. But yeah, as long as a Michigan running back or quarterback doesn't get lit up, it'll be a successful day. And I don't think Michigan could wear uniforms as awful as they did that game. So.
No, the Bumblebees.
Yeah. Game against South Carolina, which is it's kind of an odd game for me. Mainly because, you don't hear about South Carolina all year long. The only time you hear about them is when they play Clemson. That hasn't been much of a game over the last couple of years. So, definitely a South Carolina team that finishes 8-4. A team you didn't hear of really at all season. But interestingly enough, they just fired their offensive coordinator. I believe they did that today, early this morning. So they're going into this bowl game. I don't know if they're just going to find a replacement for offensive coordinator, or if they're actually just transitioning, from within and going to name a guy their offensive coordinator before the game. That'll be tough to tell, but, from Vince didn't do anything very impressive. Their quarterback, Bentley, he only threw for, I don't want to say only, but he threw for 2,500 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. So, they can score the ball. They just turn it over too. So I think one key for Michigan there is defensively, they're going to have to force those interceptions, kind of haunt this quarterback. But the one thing that they cannot do is, they don't run the ball very well. Their leading rusher only had 517 yards on the season. Michigan can force South Carolina into a lot of 3 and longs. We're looking at 3 and 6 or 3rd and 6 plus. I think Michigan's going to set themselves up for some good defense and get the offense back onto the field. The hope for Michigan is that Brandon Peters is going to be able to play the bowl game. They're preparing for him to play. I hope that's true because I get it. I don't want to see John O'Korn again, but if he has to roll out there and play, let's roll out there and play him. That's if Peters can't go. So, the Michigan offense is going to have to be what it is for another bowl game, and hopefully the defense can carry him to a W here.
All right, guys. We're going to get into the playoffs in a little bit, but what games outside of the playoffs excite you?
What about your squad's matchup, Trey?
Which one of his squads is the question?
The non-Alabama one.
Yeah.
Which one had the better record?
Turnover chain.
Yeah, Miami and Wisconsin, man, that's going to be a good one. I just think, man, their defense could have a good opportunity to play against that this Wisconsin team, especially just with the time that they got. So I feel confident that chain is going to be moving a little bit against Wisconsin. So I'm not going to say sleep over them because I think Wisconsin could be that team that could definitely go in there and then pull off a win for sure. But I just think just with this matchup between these two, I think Miami could just have a good opportunity to go in there and just win. So, but yeah, I feel confident. It's going to be a very exciting game. I can say that. So.
I feel like that's the game that might be 9-6.
It could.
Yeah.
Because they both have really good defenses, and at times both offenses are pretty suspect.
Yeah, very true. So I just think with this, man, they got a lot of time to prepare. So,
but I also feel like this could also be the game where you're going to nap for 3 quarters, wake up for the 4th and see it all.
Yeah.
Like the final score could be, 24-20 and it was all done in the 4th.
Yeah. So it's definitely going to be, a good one to watch. So for sure. But yeah, guys, outside of that one, like what other ones are you, interested in looking at? I know another one for me is going to be Washington versus Penn State. I just think that's just going to be a good one. The PlayStation Fiesta Bowl, between those two, teams. I just think they're going to be putting up a good show. But what other ones, you guys like?
Yeah, I'll pick one that's a little under the radar. Kind of a lot under the radar, I guess. Watch Arizona and Purdue. Mainly because, I felt like Purdue had a lot of good moments this year. They played a lot of good fought games and just fell up. I believe Arizona's running back kind of went hog wild in the second half of the season and started rushing for like 300 yards a game so. Purdue likes to play a physical kind of football, so I'd like to see, how their defense matches up to a quick Rich Rod offense. Just to see, how a team that's basically in the middle of the Big Ten kind of stacks up to another middle of the conference team. For most of the season, we were talking about, Big Ten being the football. And I just want to see, bowl season, end of the year. How are some of these middle tier teams gonna play? And I think that's a good test for Purdue. I think that'll, force them to be a quarter game, go to the clock, hit zeros. And then another one I'm actually interested in, not because I, care about either team, but it's going to be Southern Miss versus Florida State. I want to see if Florida State can at least, win one against a team they should easily win against. Francois got hurt. Florida State had a very, very bad year. Fired their coach. They just got Taggart from Oregon. Granted, I don't know all the communication rules that he can have with the team. Brushed up on that, but I just want to see, is this going to be a game where Southern Miss can come in and win against a big time opponent, even though the team's not that great? State's going to be able to pull it out. That one just catches my eye just because Florida State looks so bad this year, and they got into a bowl game and they're playing. I mean, I don't even know what conference Southern Miss is in, to be honest with you. So I just want to see, is this going to be one that they win? Oh, they're in Conference USA. So, I mean, just like if Florida uses this one, it just shows how bad their year actually was. And a lot of, even after Francois got hurt, we were still saying there could be a chance, they can make it to the, ACC championship game, chance for the playoffs still. And then they just couldn't find an answer at quarterback.
Yeah.
On my end, I'm excited for the Cotton Bowl. Ohio State, USC.
That's going to be a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. See Sam Darnold versus that Ohio State defense. So I think he's going to be under a lot of pressure with that front seven bearing down on him. I'm not quite as excited to see Ohio State's offense versus USC's just because, I don't know, just Barrett's been very underwhelming this year.
Like I said, this time of the year, man, they got a lot of time to prepare. So I hopefully, with these little couple extra weeks, they could get it going. So
yeah, it's more time to prepare. But I mean, I just feel like the scouting report has kind of just been made on them. If you can force Barrett to throw the ball, you got a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Well, and if I could just jump in real fast, and like we said last week, Ohio State started beating Michigan when they were able to run the ball, when the quarterbacks were able to get loose.
Yep.
That's when the game turned. So it's the formula.
Yeah.
Yep. If you can box Barrett in and, somewhat contain Dobbins and, from last year. But anyway, they're backs. If you can contain them somewhat, you got a good shot at beating them. And USC finished the season pretty strong. A lot of the issues that Darnold had early with the turnovers, he seems to have cleaned up. Oh, I want to see if that continues against a defense like this. And also, I'm looking at the Peach Bowl, Auburn UCF. See how Auburn bounces back from that tough SEC title game loss. And then see how they match with old Kiffin's boys.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see, Kiffin, yeah.
So I think that'll be a fun one to watch. See that the best team from the group of five going against the SEC runner-up, and see if they were legit. To see if they would have put them in that playoff. To see how they. I think this will be the example to see how they may have fared.
Just another one real quick, kind of under the radar, game that I'll be checking out is, number 20 Memphis versus Iowa State. Memphis, they've been, pretty consistent this year. Iowa State's been a team that's been pretty impressive also. They beat Oklahoma, TCU, also almost pulled over a win over Oklahoma State. So they've been getting some wins and they've been in some pretty close battles, fun little matchups this year. So, just to see these two, teams, just how they'll compete against each other. Going to be playing Memphis in their, own city, Memphis, but, this is to see how these two teams will just square off with each other. I think that's going to be a good, nice little low key matchup for people to check out if they'll like.
Yeah, I know we mentioned just about every other New Year's Six game. What do you guys think about Notre Dame and LSU? Like,
just not sure what we're going to get out of that one.
I know,
that could be low scoring and ugly, or it could be fun. Just because they're kind of mirror image teams. LSU can't really pass the ball and up and down as far as the passing game goes. Both of them can run the hell out of the football, and if they are opening up and getting through the front seven, they're fun to watch. They both play good defense, but yeah, this is one of those games where it's like this could go one way or it could go the other. I'm not seeing an in between for this one. This game where it could be give me some hard liquor to get through this.
And I guess the reason this matchup's so intriguing is both teams play good enough defense. But both teams really struggle at quarterback position. It's almost baffling that LSU still can't find a quarterback, and it's been 5 or 6 years?
It's been a while.
Oh yeah.
Have we been saying this since Jamarcus Russell?
Pretty much.
And when's the last time you heard
their
Jamarcus
last
Russell?
quarterback that people liked? Yeah.
Was Matt Flynn after or before?
Flynn
he was after, but people still kind of question him even.
That's true. Yeah, that was the last time we heard Jamarcus Russell.
It's funny.
Throw out one more matchup just real fast. Not for any real reason, but New Mexico State versus Utah State. We got the Aggies versus the Aggies.
The Aggie Bowl.
I just don't think I just don't know that you see that too often. So better is if we can somehow get Texas A&M to show up. We got the Aggies. But yeah, I saw that game and I'm like, I might tune into that one just for a couple minutes just because it's fun to watch the Aggies play the Aggies.
All right. Any more, Ty?
No.
Last one. All right, man.
Yeah, that should do me in.
All right. What about you, Darnell? Any more, man? You good?
No, I think we covered the watch.
All right. Question for you guys for our next topic. Both of y'all are big on your Big Ten football. I remember we were having a discussion earlier this year where y'all kind of were saying that y'all believe that the Big Ten is the best team, with the best conference in NCAA football, or if it's not the best, it's about the second best. With that being said, it was pretty hectic getting close to the end of the season, but they had Ohio State and you had Wisconsin duking it out for that championship game. Ohio State won, but they didn't make the playoff. Do y'all feel in any way, shape, or form that the Big Ten got screwed over this year, just with how competitive their conference is and whatnot, or just how do you feel about the Big Ten?
Mm-hmm. No, got screwed over. Would I have been mad if Ohio State made it over Alabama? No.
Okay.
I think that 4 spot was just between two resumes that weren't great, but Ohio State this year and got worked in both of the losses. Oklahoma handled them, and Iowa, unranked Iowa, but they got beat by 31 points. They allowed Iowa to drop, 55 on them. You can't do that and expect to. Yeah, you can't do that and expect to make it to. They were soundly beat by Auburn. I don't want to say that. I mean, they didn't get the doors blown off of them like Ohio State did, but they were threatening after the second half, after the first half. I mean, so am I mad about the ranking? No. Would I have been mad if it went the other way? No. But I do think that they probably got it right. I know you want to look at positives and negatives. Ohio State did play a tougher schedule, in my opinion, because everybody's been calling out Alabama's schedule Mercer in the middle of the season, and I'm not going to argue with anybody that says it looks like they got rewarded for playing a weaker schedule, which you could definitely look at it that way.
Yeah. You
have to beat the teams that are on your schedule. They beat everybody but one team. Ohio State, they beat everybody but two teams. But in those 2 losses, they got abused both times. Yeah. Alabama's loss, they got soundly beaten, like I said, but it steamrolled. Yeah. So I think that just kind of won out for it. I do think if Ohio State would have by like 30, it helped.
Yeah.
But since it was kind of a close game against a Wisconsin team that the committee really didn't respect, because Wisconsin didn't make it into that top 4 until the week before the last ranking.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you can expect. Does that change my opinion on the Big Ten? No, I do think that they were at worst the second best conference in football, but all of the good teams were on one side, which is a similar case to the SEC.
Yeah.
Pretty much had a cakewalk, but they slipped up to Auburn. Their one cross conference foe that they played, that's who they lost to. They made up for it and made their way back into the playoff. But it was kind of the same deal with the SEC. The West is a meat grinder. It's nothing. Tennessee is garbage. Florida's garbage, and Georgia is a solid squad. For the Big Ten, the East is a meat grinder, but the West is pretty much soft. Iowa's and Wisconsin was good. I'm not going to say they were a bad team, but they never played anybody, and they're the best 2 teams that they played were Michigan and Ohio State. Michigan until late in the third quarter, mid to late third quarter, and that's where they ran away. Which I mean, you would expect them to beat Michigan, but then that Ohio State game, I really never felt like they were going to win that game. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the same page there. Big Ten got screwed. In all reality, I don't necessarily even want to say a Big Ten team deserved it. Like we said, when your champion is 2 blowout losses, to one team which is clearly in the playoff. I don't think that seeing Ohio State get matched up, say with again, and I mean, yes, people would watch it. It would probably be I don't think people want to see another rematch. I think people want to see, different games, a game we haven't seen before. Granted, we're getting Alabama Clemson again, this time in the first round, but
3 years in a row.
And I did also, I said this earlier, this year, the last 2 times the Big Ten got in the playoff, not pretty. And I think that's playing a little bit of a factor too. I'm not saying that should play a factor. It's a brand new year, but when in the last 2 years in the college football playoff, you lose a combined sum like 62-0 as a conference, you're not giving yourself a lot of leeway for coming back to play the following year. So you have, Ohio State only by Oklahoma, beaten very soundly by Iowa. Just 2 losses you can't afford. If you lose to Oklahoma, who's a clear playoff team. I think it's just the idea that, Wisconsin, I think if they would have won, they would have gotten in and penalized an undefeated Power 5 team. I just think that the losses for Ohio State were too great. I don't think you can lose your conference championship game and get in. Only thing I find unfortunate about the situation, we're starting to see it because it's happened 2 years in a row now with Alabama this year and Ohio State last year. I don't like that you can miss out on your college conference championship game and then squeak your way in. With Alabama this year, it is a little different than last year with Ohio State. At least Ohio State beat Michigan in the final week in a high-profile, 2 high-ranked teams game. As to where Alabama lost in the final week of the regular season and then leapfrogged themselves back in. I don't want to see it happen that way. I mean, is actually one of the 4 best teams? Yeah. I'm not going to say that they aren't, but I do think that there needs to be some clearer qualifications than the eye test. Because, we hear the committee say, what holds the most power for their decision? Conference champions. Well, second year in a row, we're not getting a conference, a row of a non-conference champions getting in. So clearly it's not holding that much value. I get it. If you want the 4 best teams in there, the eye test will have to play a factor in that, but I don't know. I think the teams are correct. I have no problem with the teams. I'd have no problem if, like Darnell said, Ohio State jumped in. But I think we just need some clear qualifications on who's getting in.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And I also just think a lot of it is just people need to look at what they're going for. People are still annoyed because they want the 4 most quote deserving teams, which is still subjective. instead of the 4 best teams, which sometimes those things will align, other times they won't. This is one of the years that they don't. If you want the 4 best teams, a lot of it is going to be eye test there. Especially if you're not using the old BCS computer rankings or anything like that. A bunch of people in a room trying to figure it out. And I think when it came down to picking that 4th team, part of it was like what you said, Ty. They thought, well, last year Ohio State got smoked by Clemson, didn't score. The year before that, Michigan State got smoked by Alabama, didn't score. Do we really want another round of this? And it came down to probably, like, I'll put it to you two, Ohio State and Alabama on a neutral site. Who are you betting on if I give you $100 to put on either team?
I like Herb, man, but I give it to Bama. So,
I was gonna say, I mean, coaching will play a part, but if you look at the talent on both of these, what I just said earlier,
yeah,
I think JT Barrett is good enough to be that Alabama defense, even with the linebacker injuries that they have.
Yeah,
I don't. So
just don't sleep on my dog Herb, though, man. He can find a way.
I mean, I'm sorry. I'll sleep on him this year. I don't think that team was good enough to be any of those other 3 teams that are currently in the playoff. Yeah. I would favor Bama probably by 2 touchdowns, Clemson by 2 touchdowns. We saw what happened when they played Oklahoma, and I think Georgia would probably run all over them. So I just think it came down to that. They're technically supposed to be putting the 4 best teams on the field, and based on what we saw with Ohio State playing a team that's in the Final Four, the Big Ten's past history for the past 2 years, and like I said, projecting how they would have done against Alabama, since that was the team that they were basically competing against for that 4th spot. I don't think many people would have had faith enough to say, yeah, I think Ohio State's better than them.
Yeah. All right. Next, we'll just get into these playoff matchups. First, we'll do Oklahoma versus Georgia. Just thoughts on that.
It's another one where I think we're going to get power on power there. The Georgia defense versus that Oklahoma offense. And Baker Mayfield's been ridiculous this year. And like, that's losing pretty much all of his offensive weapons, losing both running Westbrook. And he's been off the chain when he hasn't been, grabbing himself on the sidelines. But Oklahoma's on a run, and I'd be scared to bet against them in this game. As good as Georgia has looked, Oklahoma has looked that much better.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, in my opinion, Baker Mayfield has the Heisman in the bag. I think it's his. Super strong year. Just their offensive line is really good. Everybody from the goal here. And it has a lot to do with the fact that Baker Mayfield isn't himself, but he's not doing it all himself. I still think that he can get burned, but I just think that offense is more than enough. As much as I would hate to see a college football playoff game score 40s, low 40s, high 30s to mid 30s, it could happen here, especially if carried away and the defense just can't keep up. It's going to be Baker Mayfield's arm against that run game of Georgia, so throw the ball too. I'm not saying they can't, but Are they going to be able to contain Baker Mayfield? Are they going to let him just burn him on the home run ball? Are they going to let him use his feet to gain big first downs? This is, I think, Baker Mayfield's been in this position before. He was their quarterback when they were in it last time, correct? A couple years ago?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's been here. He knows what it's about. I think this time he's ready to perform. It's been his year. Played fantastic. I like Oklahoma in this one.
It's I'm not gonna give mine yet just because it's down the road. We could do that later, but I find this matchup just interesting, man, because like you guys said, man, Baker Mayfield's been on fire. He's just been out there handling business, just looking very impressive this year. On the other hand, Georgia's been out there. They've been looking good. Had a great rebound from that Auburn loss. But one thing, man, when watching Kirby Smart, just when he was in Alabama, the dude is a defensive genius. And, like I said, this time of year, man, you give a lot of these coaches time to prepare. It's going to be interesting to see what Kirby can pull out for his defense and see what he can do to try to slow Mayfield down. So it's going to be, giving him that time, I think he's going to have some schemes up his sleeve to try to stop Baker. So I think this is going to be a good matchup, good little chess matchup between the two.
For sure.
Anything to add to that, Darnell?
No, I'll cover it. Like, I think Ty summed it up perfect. It's going to be the arm of Baker Mayfield. What can he produce, and what can seem like an 8-headed monster at running back for Georgia?
Yeah.
They just seem to just keep throwing kids in there, and they gash people for 5 or 10 yards of play.
Yeah.
To see if they can do that. Like who can slow down the other team's strength?
Yeah.
And has Kirby under that tutelage of Nick Saban, because always the big thing about Saban is when he has a lot of time to prepare, it usually means bad news for the other team. Is he the same way?
Yep. All right. Up next, thoughts on the rematch of the rematch, Clemson versus Alabama. You guys, would y'all consider this a rivalry now between these guys, or how do you feel about these guys matching up?
I definitely think, a blood rival. It's not Alabama, Auburn, or Michigan, Ohio State, or Michigan State, or something like that, where both teams hate each other. I think this is more of a respect type rivalry. But hey, you play each other a meaningful game 3 years straight. Well, this will be the 3rd year, but you're going to get in your feelings a little bit on this one. I think, hey, it's 1-1. This may be our last chance. We want to go out on top of this situation here.
Yeah. It's like to me, man, I view it's like a boxing match between two good guys, and they're just going for part 3, who's going to come out on top. So, it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that would be pretty much this is Ali Frazier.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So we got the thriller in Manila about to happen.
Yeah.
As far as the game goes, though, this one's hard for me to call.
Yeah.
Kelly Bryant, solid quarterback, but he's been up and down. He doesn't scare me. Pretty much the same with Jalen Hurts. Sometimes he's really good. Sometimes he's what are you doing? I think this one comes down to which defense is better.
Yeah.
Right now, it looks like that's Clemson's. I guess this won't be my final pick yet, but as far as looking at it, I think I give a little bit of a nod to Clemson just off the fact that I think they have a little bit better defense.
Yeah. I'll just add mine. Oh, well, go ahead, Ty.
It's also going to be tough because this game's still almost a month away. Yeah. And get healthy a little bit, and we're going to see some names we haven't seen for a while. So, I definitely think that a defensive edge, although, from what we've seen late, yeah, absolutely. Clemson probably has an edge. Their defensive front is killer, like it has been most years. But, I think Alabama's going to get healthy, and I definitely think that they're going to have some names, linebackers back. At least I think they will.
One, maybe two, it looks like they'll have back.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was just seeing the possibility of a couple. But, it's for some of these guys, like you said, Darnell, this is going to be it. It's a rubber match. It's, the right to play for nobody wants to pass that up. So both teams are going to come out slugging for sure. I think, no Lane Kiffin this time on offense, Trey. So, well, I guess 3-2 Darnell. So, the trick plays may not be there, but, I wouldn't, if it draws up a couple plays where I don't really want to call them trick plays, but they're like big misdirection and, maybe a pass back to the weak side or something. You know that Alabama loves to throw at least one of those in there in a huge game.
Yeah.
That they'll be able to, I think we'll at least see them attempt it, against Clemson. Yeah. I think this one's really, again, they're not just two heavy hitters, big sluggers, just trying to, keep the endurance for all four quarters here, and we're just gonna have to see who lands the biggest punch.
Yeah, and I feel like a broken record, saying this is like my fifth time saying it, but preparation. Last year during this time with Alabama, one key dilemma that they had was Lane Kiffin getting ready to go, so they had to bring in Sarkisian. Had to adjust a little bit to him. Pretty confident this won't be happening again this year. So just with this time, I know Alabama has their injuries, and whatnot too, but, their players can really just focus on one guy, not really having to worry about change a lot up, for this matchup. So I think that's, going to help them a lot, just with this matchup, too. Instead of last year, you said, okay, we're going to focus on Kiffin. Oh, Kiffin's gone. Okay, who we got? Sarkisian. And now, just with that, going on. So just with them having just a steady, offensive, coordinator, that I think is going to stick with them. I think that's going to help them a lot just with their focus. And, like I said, when it comes to preparation, there's no other coach I'd rather have to prepare, with for Nick Saban. So it's going to be a classic again, I believe, between these two. All right, fellas, any other thoughts on, these two games?
Can't wait for them to get here.
Yeah. Got a little bit of time to wait, so. But to close this out, I know, Ty, I think you already said you had Baker Mayfield as your guy to win the Heisman. But just thoughts on these candidates, guys, who you got winning. Yeah, you all think Baker's got it?
Yeah, I don't think I can't even throw a dark horse here. Everybody that got nerve to be invited, as far as Lamar Jackson and Bryce Love, they picked the right invites for it. But, yeah, this has been Baker's year.
Yeah.
He's been big in big games as well as what random Saturday Pickett. He's been on his, but I'm not sure if he's had a bad game this year. Even though took an L, like he didn't play terrible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I got to roll with Baker here. But props to all three. They had great seasons. Bryce Love has been ridiculous for most of the year. He was averaging the first down to carry, so you got to show love there. Yeah. And Lamar Jackson
last year's guy
wasn't as good as last have been pretty much identical, if not maybe a little better. So he definitely deserves his invite as well.
Yeah. I will say this, in terms of like my two favorite players to watch this year, I would say my two favorites were Bryce Love and Saquon Barkley. Those guys were just fun to watch. So those are my favorite guys to just watch. But with Bryce being in there, I still don't think he's going to get it over Baker. I just think Baker's he did his thing out there. He's going to take it this year. So I just think it's his to take.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just right there with you guys, so I won't say too much more on that. Already said everything there is to say about it. But yeah, I've been high on Bryce Love all year. Actually, I really wanted the Lions to draft him.
All right.
Considering they can't run the football for $1 billion.
Yes.
So, yeah, I actually really like Bryce Love. I'd love to see him finish second here.
Yeah. It's just crazy, man. Just real quick, Ty, like how just Stanford they had McCaffrey, and then like right after him, they got this beast too, man. So they just bringing them guys out, man, having them doing their thing. So props to them. But you had anything else to say, Ty?
No, just if Baker Mayfield doesn't win it, I will be shocked.
All right. All right, let's get these pick'ems in. Y'all ready?
Yeah.
First thing first, I just got to say the champ is here for the NCAA Finals. Ty came in last place, 49 out of 84. Darnell came in 50 out of 84. And the champ, me, I came in 52 out of 84. This was close, man. Just a couple of picks just could have changed. Definitely came down to the wire. So had to come out on top. So, but we got to get to the NFL. Right now, Tyler's, man, you suck. You're sucking it up this year.
Yeah, hey, someone has to hold it down.
Tyler, he's 32 out of 68. Me, I'm 36 out of 68, and Darnell, I'm coming for him, but he's 39 out of 68.
Yeah,
we're
going.
All bad.
Yeah. Hey man, at least we at least over 500, man. You need to step it up a little bit, bro.
I need to do something.
All right, first game we got, I think it's tomorrow, for Thursday Night Football. It's Baltimore versus Pitt. Who you guys got?
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm going Steelers.
All right, I'm gonna go with them Ravens.
Shocking.
All right. Up next, we have NOLA versus ATL.
Give me New Orleans.
Yeah, it's indoors. I'm going with the Saints.
Give me ATL. Just 1 second. All right, up next we have Oakland versus Kansas City. It's crazy, man, just with Oakland, with Kansas City, like they started the season off just nice and just debacle. But up next, Oakland versus KC.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Kansas City. Had a good week last week. I think they'll feed off it.
All right.
I'm gonna go with the Raiders.
Give me the Raiders too. And up next, we got the Jets versus Denver.
I'm actually going to take the Jets on this
Jets, Jets.
I'm going with the Jets as well, man. So, all right, we got the Rams versus Philly.
I'm taking Philly.
I'm going with the Rams here.
I'm going to go with the Rams as well.
I'm gaining a lot of ground this week.
All right. All right. Darnell, you said Rams, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then it was Ty that said Philly. Okay. Up next we have Jacksonville versus Seattle. Give me Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle.
Just in case some of my other picks go bad, yeah, it could be Seattle.
All right.
Give me one that's right.
Hey, when you're in last, rationale's out the window.
All right. Last but not least, it's only right we finish with them Detroit Lions. You got the D versus Tampa Bay. Who y'all got?
Because Stafford plays. Going to be fighting that hand. They got I don't even really know what happened. We like kind of landed on it, I guess. But
give me Detroit.
Yeah, I'm taking Detroit as well. I can't pick against them now.
It's just I feel like that hand is worse off than they're letting on. He wouldn't even pull it out of his sweatshirt during the press conference today.
Yeah. I'll still take Detroit.
You picking? So you picking Tampa, Darnell?
Yeah, he's taking Tampa. He's in the box.
Right.
Hey, all I know is if Stafford can't go, that just means my boy Jake Rudolph's coming in.
Yeah. All right, guys. Any closing statements?
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right. As always, y'all, I appreciate y'all for checking us out. Feel free to check out our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, SoundCloud. Just hit us up in that search engine. Also, feel free to check us out on Twitter at DKM_cash. Feel free to hit us up on that. And as always, guys, like I said, appreciate y'all for tuning in. We'll catch y'all on the next episode. Peace.